What's up guys, it's Rob, and today we're going to be looking at the Asus ROG or ROG Keris wireless. For those of you who don't already know, I add every single mouse I review to my mouse review sheet. I added this mouse as well. The link to that is down in the description, please go check it out. And I will have clips of gameplay that I got while using this mouse at the end of the video, so stick around for that. This is a $100 wireless mouse that has an ergonomic shape. This mouse was released Q1 2021 in January, and it does have the beloved USB-C port. Once again, I'm not sure why people obsess over this, but a lot of people like it, so it really isn't a big deal for me, but it's definitely nice to see that a lot of people get what they want, so that's always good. The battery life of this mouse is supposed to last 78 hours with RGB off and 56 hours with RGB on. When I use the mouse on wireless mode with the default settings, which were the RGB on, and I'm assuming it was 1000 Hz, it lasted for around 4 to 5 days, but I started using it in wired mode after that, so I didn't really get to fully test the full length of the battery life. But from what I've seen, it's safe to assume that it would have probably lasted a day or two more from being fully charged and heavy use as well. So the battery life is pretty good, and the liftoff distance is set to low by default. You can change it to high. I'm not quite sure how high it'll make it, but the default liftoff distance is already set to low and it's great. I had no issues with it. But the reason I say I don't really know how high the liftoff distance can go is because I wasn't able to download the software. I kept getting an error when I would run the installer, and it would just tell me that I wasn't connected to the internet or something. And it wouldn't work, even though I was obviously connected to the internet. I even contacted support, and the fixes that they gave me didn't really help me at all, which is quite unfortunate that I was not able to download the software. Well, I was able to download the installer, but once I tried installing the software after running the installer, I would just keep getting that same error, which is quite unfortunate, and I have heard other people have that same issue. But huge shout out to Jafer, who is a fellow mouse reviewer as well, and a really good mouse reviewer too. He showed me all the details inside the software and stuff, and you can also check out his video on this mouse. The link to that will be down in the description. He showed me everything you can change and all that stuff, so huge shout out to him. But in the software, you can obviously turn the RGB off and all that stuff. You can change the polling rate to 125 Hz, 250 Hz, 500 Hz, and 1000 Hz. You can also change the liftoff distance from low to high. But before I go any further, I do want to note that I did unfortunately receive a bad copy of this mouse. I was having horrible connectivity issues. The mouse would kind of stutter or skip when I was on wireless mode, and I have not seen anybody else have this issue. When I would connect the mouse directly to my computer with the charger or cable that it comes with, it would work extremely well and pretty much perfectly. And I have been told that the wireless mode is pretty much the same thing as using it wired with no input delay or anything like that. But like I said, I just got really unlucky. I will be sending this back to hopefully receive another copy, and I will update my info on my mouse review sheet after I receive that copy. But this doesn't really seem like something you should worry about because I have not seen any others have this issue, but just wanted to throw it out there. So like I said before, I did end up having to use this mouse in wired mode, which is very unfortunate, but it worked perfectly fine, and it's really not that bad because the cable is actually extremely flexible. Look at this. It's really, really good. It's quite surprising for being a wireless mouse and having such a great cable and or charger, but using the mouse while charging or just using it wired if you want to is definitely not a big deal at all, and I really enjoyed myself with this mouse. I'm actually quite surprised because I really didn't have high hopes for this mouse. So now on my scale, the mouse comes in at 80 grams, which I would definitely still consider light. I really didn't notice the weight all that much in terms of how heavy people think it is. I really don't think 80 grams is heavy at all, and it's definitely a weight that can be worked with. It certainly doesn't affect my aim, my gameplay, or anything like that, and it feels great all around. So like I said before, this mouse does have an ergonomic shape. it gets pretty high on the left side of the mouse, and right near mouse 2, or the corner of the mouse over here, it gets pretty low. When trying to palm this mouse, I can kind of palm it almost. My hand seems to be just a tad bit long for it, but it definitely does seem like it's a possibility at my hand size, but it just doesn't really seem all that comfortable when palming the mouse, for me at least. And I think it definitely has something to do with how high the left side of the mouse is compared to the right side. I'm not really quite sure what it might be, but it just doesn't feel all that comfortable. And when I do palm the mouse, right here on the right side of the mouse, or actually on both mouse 1 and mouse 2, they're actually curved like out towards the side of the mouse. I am pretty sure you can tell right there. It's definitely more notable like this. You can see mouse 1 and mouse 2 kind of like curve downward. And I really don't think this is a great feature, because here on the right side of the mouse, at least when I grip it for palm, and this also happens with claw grip, as you can see right here, when I grip the mouse, I can feel when I click on mouse 2, and it just kind of gets in the way. It doesn't feel all that comfortable. It's very unfortunate. It could have been very easily avoided by the design of the mouse, but I know this can be a very big deal for some people. It wasn't too bad for me, but I can definitely understand people not liking this. At my hand size, claw and fingertip grip work really well. I mainly use claw grip when gripping every single mouse I use, but yeah, I really enjoyed myself with claw grip, and at my hand size, both claw and fingertip are very possible and very comfortable. The length of my hand is 17.5 centimeters long, and the width of my hand is 9.5 centimeters wide. So now for the coating of the mouse. As you can see, there is a split like somewhat in the middle of the mouse, and it kind of splits between different textures or materials the mouse is made of. Here in the back, as you can see, it's kind of more sleek, and it seems to shine a lot. I was very worried about this because I thought it would be a sweat magnet, but it was perfectly fine. It worked really well. I have very sweaty hands, and I didn't encounter any slipperiness or anything of the sort, and it just felt pretty grippy. You do get some fingerprint action going on here towards the back, but it really isn't that much of a big deal. I don't mind it all that much. It's where I kind of like have my hand anyway. I don't get to see that part of the mouse, and it kind of just wipes off very easily. Also, I didn't encounter like any gamer gunk buildup on the back side of the mouse or on the front side of the mouse either, which is pretty nice. I normally have to clean the mice before I review them after using them for like a week or so, but I did not have to do that with this mouse, which is pretty nice. And now for the front side of the mouse and the side buttons as well. The front side of the mouse and side buttons are made of PBT, which feels very grippy and isn't slippery at all. It feels great. The sides of the mouse aren't as textured as mouse 1 and mouse 2. You do get somewhat of a rougher feeling on mouse 1 and mouse 2 compared to the sides, but it really isn't all that rough. It just feels noticeably rougher than the sides. And well, it's very grippy, and like I said, didn't have any gamer gunk buildup on this portion of the mouse either, and the mouse definitely has a very solid coating. And now for the mouse feet. I do get a very smooth glide when using the mouse, and it is definitely an above average speed when it comes to the glide as well, which is really nice. They do have rounded edges, and I definitely do not think you will need to replace these mouse feet. You do get an extra set as well, which is always nice, and I didn't run into any scratchiness or anything like that. No issues whatsoever with these mouse feet, so yeah. And now for mouse 1 and mouse 2, I do get a very nice and crisp click when pressing down on both mouse 1 and mouse 2. No pre or post travel either, which is really nice. They sound really nice, and I have no side play whatsoever when using the mouse naturally. If I do try to get side play like this with both hands, I do get some very minimal side play, but it really isn't noticeable in game, so no issues with that. And one super amazing thing about this mouse is that you can easily change the switches in the mouse. They come with an extra set of 1mm Omron, but the stock switches on the mouse are rated for 70mm, and I'm not really sure who the manufacturer is of those switches, but they do feel great and they're pretty crispy when pressing down on both of them. But like I said before, they are hot swappable, so you are able to put whichever switch you like in the mouse, which is super duper cool. Another defective part of my copy is that I do have some vertical play on mouse 1, but I don't really feel it when playing in game or anything like that. It just moves up very easily, and when I do shake the mouse, I do hear and get some rattle on that mouse 1, which is very unfortunate. I haven't seen this with other copies of the mouse. I think I just got extremely unlucky, but oh well. Still, when using the mouse naturally, I don't get that vertical play, I don't feel it or anything like that, so the mouse 1 and mouse 2 clicks perform really well. The side buttons are a really good size, and the mouse does come with 2 extra sets of side buttons. One set of gray side buttons and another set of pink side buttons, and it comes with the black side buttons stock. They do sound really nice and crisp when pressing down on them. Unfortunately, they are really close to being flush on the mouse. I had no trouble finding them when using the mouse at all or anything like that, but just keep in mind that they are pretty close to being flush with the mouse. They do not protrude out all that much. And also, they do not feel mushy, but you can push the side buttons pretty far into the mouse, as you can see right there. They do go pretty far in. Normally, side buttons that can do this feel kind of mushy, but I don't really get that mushy feeling at all. They still performed really well, and I had no issues with the side buttons whatsoever. Scroll wheel feels great when scrolling up or scrolling down. It is very tactile feeling, and it almost reminds me of something out of a Zowie mouse. It does get a little bit louder when you scroll up compared to when scrolling down, but it's nowhere near as loud as a Zowie mouse. Pressing down on middle mouse button requires average actuation force, and you do get a nice click when pressing down on it. Scroll wheel performed really well, and I had no issues with it whatsoever. One thing I would note though is that when scrolling up or scrolling down, the force required to scroll up or scroll down is definitely above average, and I've never felt this on any other mouse. It's really weird, but as you can see right here, me pushing on the scroll wheel, it will not scroll, and I could just keep pushing the mouse with my finger and without the scroll wheel even turning. But with another mouse, as you can see, if I try it, it doesn't happen as much, and the scroll wheel will just scroll. You definitely notice it, but it doesn't affect like my gameplay or anything like that. Just definitely keep that in mind, especially if you're someone who uses a scroll wheel reset on a Fortnite or something like that. I still don't think it will affect you that much. It just requires a tad bit more force to scroll up or down, and I never accidentally scrolled up or down when pressing down on middle mouse button, and I also never accidentally pressed down on middle mouse button when scrolling up or down. Overall, a very solid scroll wheel that performed really well. And now for the build quality of this mouse. This is a very solid feeling mouse, and it feels of very high quality as well. When stress testing the mouse, I get no flex anywhere. The only build quality issue I really had is the rattle I get from mouse 1, but I haven't seen this from anybody else, so I definitely don't think it's something that you should worry about. It does seem that I kind of just got unlucky, unfortunately. So would I recommend this mouse? Yes, I definitely would. One thing I would note though is that I would maybe wait to see whether or not more defective copies are being sent out to people, just to make sure that you do not get a defective copy and see the quality control among the copies being sent out. Like I said, I haven't seen any others have the same issues I have had, but I definitely think this is a top wireless mouse. This is definitely better than something like the Aerox 3 wireless, which is another $100 wireless mouse. And well, this is definitely a mouse to consider if you are in the market for a top wireless mouse. I really enjoyed my time while using this mouse, and I will now be showing gameplay that I got while using this mouse. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye! so it's safe to assume it's the sensor, right? Further testing will be done.